And good evening and welcome to Headliners. I'm Simon Evans. Tonight joining me we have Josh Howe and Louis Schaefer. How the devil are you, gentlemen?
I'm all right. I went to the doctor today I've got stage 3 kidney disease, which I've had since I was maybe in my 50s, early 50s.
Well, why have you only gone to the doctors today?
Because they check me out every 6 months, and every 6 months they yell at me.
OK. Is that an X-ray you're wearing around your neck?
No, It's my new tie. It's a brand new tie, which was selected by the people out there. If you're on my Twitter account, you could become. Josh doesn't like when I do this. He thinks this is like way too serious. It's comedy, Josh.
When's the joke coming?
It's the idea that
you just told everyone you're going to die of cancer or liver failure, and then you've just followed me on Twitter.
Yeah. Because that's actually. I asked this guy.
Shall I hand over the controls? Do you want to take it from there?
Sorry.
Well,
it's going to get worse from here.
It's going to be a Muppet show tonight. Let's take a look at the front pages, see if we can cram a little bit of news into the format. Telegraph open with a deported thief who has used the ECHR to stay in the UK. That, of course, will come to the attention of the Tory leadership. Race, the Daily Mail come clean on what Lord Ali got for his cash. That's a request rather than their actual ability to do so. The Eye, PM refuses to rule out UK military involvement if Israel attacks Iran. The Metro have our £14 billion hellholes. I don't know where they are, though. The Daily Express, united against Labour's cruel winter fuel cut. And finally, the Daily Star. Yes, it's occurred. Gavin and Stacy are reunited. So those were your front pages. So we will start up with the Daily Telegraph, Lewis, which has most of the day's news on its front page, of course, but in particular we have this ECHR outrage.
Yes, a deported thief uses ECHR to stay in the UK. And this is in the Telegraph, which is a very good newspaper. I guess it's about the same as all the others. But this is £3.50. So when you pay the most for any newspaper. Maybe the Financial Times you have to pay more. But here's a guy. He was convicted of something, and then they stayed burglary. And thank you for reading that, Josh. And then they sent him back to Albania. Okay, and then he got Josh. And then he snuck back into Britain. And so they found him in Britain, and they said, we're deporting him. And he said, no, you can't deport me because I've had a baby with a Lithuanian woman who isn't a citizen, I don't think.
A Lithuanian
she is.
Not a
She has the right to remain after.
I would imagine.
Okay,
yeah.
So she is, and so she, and
to be fair, the type is very small, but it does seem like an extraordinary abuse of the intentions of this act, of this court,
Absolutely.
which is obviously really rather old and creaking now, and seemed to be like one of the main reasons for Brexit was supposed to be to detach ourselves from this and be able to control our borders more tightly, and yet nobody's laid a glove on it since.
Do you know what? Can I just stop you there? Because this has to do with me. Because if my wife decided to kick me out, would I be kicked out after having 2 kids in this country with a British citizen?
So it all started with you.
That's a palate cleanser.
Yeah. The thing is, the Brexit deal that we signed was really based on us staying in the EHCR or whatever it's called.
ECHR.
ECHR.
Yeah. Not to
and
be
that
confused with central heating.
No, exactly. But although that's on the decline. But so it is a tricky thing getting out of it, although other European countries are also having their issues with it. And the problem is that this is what we've seen, is people abuse the system. And this was not intended, this Article 8 thing, if you want to get all specific, was not intended for this purpose. No. But, of course, the lawyers get in there. Yeah. They've managed. Now, we don't want this Albanian guy maybe he's had a turnaround, I don't know. But he was here, he came over, he did a burglary. That's not a good thing. No. And he was sent back. That is good that he was sent back. Now he's had a kid. Who knows?
And he was sent back as part of a prisoner transfer agreement with Albania. I noticed a few days ago, barely a week ago, we were discussing an expensive new jail being built in Albania on the British taxpayers' account in order to rehouse a lot of Albanian prisoners. It's clearly quite a significant sort of subset of prisoners now. I mean, it feels like something really quite fundamentally dysfunctional is going on here.
Well,
we're even paying for their prisoners and they're not even going back.
What's dysfunctional is that people in Britain want to have their own country, and they've basically given it up to... They gave it up with this ECH whatever.
By the way, we started it. Yeah. I should just say, post-World War II, we're the ones who created it.
Yeah, I know.
And I would like to say it's also done a lot of good. in the world. It's provided us a lot of rights.
But we need to recognise we're in a new world.
Well, this is it. If the system's going to be exploited, we either need to get out of that system to rebuild a different system, or we need to fix the system that's there.
Have you got any views on the millionaires to flee Britain at a record rate?
This is an interesting one, because this is one of those things that I've sort of changed my mind on a little bit.
OK.
I just remember when...
You now regret voting Labour?
Yes, well, that's amongst many things. But I remember when I used to have a lot of proper rich mates, you know, and I remember they were going, before Blair came in, we're all leaving the country, and they didn't. And that's what I assumed would happen here. But Blair was very friendly to that contingent. And what's happening
enormously relaxed or something, wasn't it? Mandelson's comment?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas it seems like this is a different... The fear of taxes is real. It hasn't really happened yet. But they are leaving, or they are saying that. Now, whether it's a threat where they are going to leave to these other countries, I would say that we have a great... If you're rich, I think the UK is a pretty good place to be. You can have a pretty great life.
Well, it has traditionally, but this is the thing. If they go with capital gains tax, and they're also going to just make it hostile for non-doms, basically they're going to make the place an extraordinarily hostile environment for anyone who is very wealthy, and other countries in Europe are making themselves a lot more hospitable.
And they're not just moving to Europe. It's a good point. It is down. It's down from 4.5% of millionaires to 3.5%.
Well, that's what they're saying in this report.
Right. So it is going... All right, I think you said that. Sorry. But the truth is that now I watch YouTube videos about living in different countries where you don't have to pay the horrible taxes and you can move your business there, and you don't even have to put up that much money. And the place is becoming not that...
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, just 20 years ago, we had a lot of good stuff here. Now you can get Primark anywhere.
Yeah.
So they don't. That's the other. There is one quite important story. There's
quickly with it if you can.
Quickly. The whole Chagos Islands, whatever you want to call it. It seems like it was Biden who actually pushed all that to happen, and basically said, Keir Starmer, you want to keep a special relationship, you better sign that deal. That's a very interesting take on what's been happening over the last few years.
And they've jumped the gun there a bit, considering that Biden's gone, and there's no guarantee that Harris will be in his place for forever.
Yeah, he probably doesn't remember saying it.
We have a quick look at the eye, Josh.
Yeah, PM refuses to rule out UK military involvement if Israel attacks Iran. This is a good thing. You should never rule anything out. I don't think Israel's necessarily asked for any involvement at this point, but the fact is Israel's fighting a war on 7 different fronts. Behind it is Iran, and I believe that is a fight for peace in the West.
So you'd actually quite like to see us go to war with Iran, is that what you're saying?
No, I think that certainly let's not rule it out. I think that it would be a silly thing to do. He has providing a contradictory message. He's saying we support Israel. He recognises it seems like the danger of Iran to the West and its proxies all over the place. But then at the same time, there's been a withdrawal of these weapons licenses. It's like you can't please everybody. And hopefully he's now going to actually just fixate on one thing.
What about the Times, Lewis? We have the number 10 crisis that's bigger than grey.
Then bigger than grey. Whitehall chiefs warned dysfunctional Downing Street as male advisors felt threatened. Say ousted chief of staff's allies. Ousted chief of staff is that grey woman, and I think they're trying to blame it on masculinity. I've seen, as I've said, yes, minister. It's a very masculine place, and they're trying to blame it on masculinity. No, it's just it's the battles that take place inside
politics.
Government. It's politics.
Of course, it's usually pretty rough, isn't it? Morgan McSweeney is going to be replacing her. It seems that he is considered to be quite a player. I don't know very much about this tier of... I think he's the sort of Cummings of the left more than she was, to some extent.
But there does seem to be this reputation of this kind of laddish culture.
Yeah.
Like he drinks beer and watches football. And so
you think that's preferable to Sue Gray, or you think Sue Gray was eased out?
She drinks wine.
Eased out due to misogyny. Is that what you're saying?
I have no idea.
You're the Labour guy. You're the one who wanted this.
Well, this is the thing. He's had a bumpy landing, and I think fundamentally, whilst he's played the game well over the last few years in terms of getting Labour into power, it seems like sometimes his finger's just not on the pulse.
Fair enough. Finally, Josh, very quickly, Stacy and Gavin are back. Do we care?
Yes, it's occurred. I've never watched an episode, but I know that there's some sort of plot thing when it finished a few years ago, like did they get married or not? And then they've now just given it. Thank you, Star. You've just given it away. Now I'm not going to watch it at all.
Well, I would watch it, and I'm surprised that I actually enjoyed it. I've seen like bits and pieces of it. Is you don't like the guy James Corden at all? He gets on my gut, but he is proper funny in this thing.
He's a very good actor. He was slightly, I don't know,
History
somehow
boys.
obsequious in the host role. I've always felt, but a very good, funny, fine actor.
great in Cats.
Alan Bennett loved him. That's the front pages out of the way. Join us in part 2 for the return of the Manchester 2, Ermine justification, and the humbling of Kamala Harris. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. So, Lewis, let's start with Tuesday's Telegraph and a case that once I suppose the authorities were hoping would rust away in the long grass.
Yes, but there's video. This is in the Telegraph, which is £3.50. Story number 5. Reform plans private prosecution of men in Manchester airport fight with police. You remember that fight where there was 2 guys and there was beating and then this woman got slashed in the face. It was like horrible. It was like actual punching and fighting, and the guy got kicked, and they didn't do anything to the. So what happened is they didn't do anything to the 2 brothers. And so Nigel Farage and the other reform people are saying they want to have a private prosecution against these guys if the government doesn't do anything, whatever the CPS, whoever these people are. And I don't even know what that means with a private prosecution. We don't have that in America. You have a civil suit, like when they sued OJ. Yeah,
But it costs a lot of money. And they're basically trying to force the CPS's hand, and they're trying to draw attention to this case because it is ridiculous that nothing's happened, regardless of the culpability or not of the police officers involved and what actually happened. The fact is, everybody has seen footage of these men repeatedly beating, I think 11 times I counted, one guy punching the male officer, then the other guy, you see him like basically knocking out this woman, this female police officer, and you see her, getting this broken nose. The idea that there's some sort of, there's just no excuse for it.
No.
What is can I ask
And they're
a
still
question?
continuing to press with the disciplinary action against the police officers involved.
Or they haven't come to a conclusion yet.
Okay.
And again, you
but
go,
they haven't,
what is-
certainly haven't.
No, they haven't.
What is a private prosecution?
It's basically like the same like a public one, but it's private. There you go. Great insight.
Yeah, and
you have to pay for it. It's
And
a lot.
what does it get? It's just a guy. What does the guy get? Like if I sue
They can
you,
still no. It's not you're suing. They can still go to prison and whatnot. It's just the CPS, the government pays for it, or we pay for it.
The sort of
our
thing
taxes.
that the Good Law Project tries to do in order to stop the government detaching from Europe.
But this is a very sort of clever strategy of
it'll
these
try and
MPs.
just shame them into actually doing something.
Yeah.
Won't it? I mean, for a long time, people have been showing this picture of the two individuals.
What's happened?
Just like endlessly kind of going, still nothing, still nothing, still nothing. I mean, there's been that campaign online.
Absolutely, but it looks like the authorities are scared of antagonising the Muslim community.
Yeah.
And it just sort of is evidence, seemingly, of this two-tier policing that supposedly doesn't exist.
Can these guys be put in jail?
Yes.
Yeah.
From a
No, it would
private
be an
prosecution?
actual prosecution, yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.